Hey there, McAllister with Toasty DIY, and today we're doing a video over how to homebrew different things for D&D. So what is homebrewing to begin with? It's when you create your own content for Dungeons & Dragons or edit the existing content to match your needs. So to make this simple, I'm going to show you all the easiest way to go ahead and homebrew a magic item, a mechanic, and a monster. And we're going to do this as simply as possible, and I do it all inside of Google Docs usually, so I'll have this up here and we'll go over it. So starting with homebrewing a magic item, the easiest way to do it, in my opinion, is to take one you already like and then add some conditionals to it, and this can spice your items in your world. So something that's a pretty common magic item you'll find in most games is a Ring of Protection. A Ring of Protection doesn't require attunement at all, and it gives the wearer +1 AC. But let's go ahead and say we found this ring on a vampire. So if you want to spice it up so it's not just a Ring of Protection, you want something more intriguing for your players, you can call it the Vampire Crest Ring. Different name, but what it's going to do, it doesn't require attunement, and it gives the wearer +2 AC. This is technically a homebrew magic item, but the way you make it more interesting is I like to add conditionals, only at night. So by adding a conditional, we make it a more unique magic item. So now they have this Vampire Crest Ring and they'll want to fight maybe at nighttime now. They're changing up their playstyle to adapt to this magic item, which is more interesting, arguably, than the Ring of Protection. That is, put it on +1 AC, they will forget about it eventually. The Vampire Crest Ring gives them something to track and be thinking about. Do we want to engage at night for an ambush? Do we want to do it during the daytime? Now there's questions involved. You may even say +2 AC only against vampires. You can add these conditionals that make it more fun, but also remember, if you do this to every single magic item, you will eventually bog them down with, okay, well, I can only attack at nighttime. Oh, and it has to be an orc, so let's bring an orc with us, or, you know, so on and so forth. You want to make sure that you do this only for more important magic items typically, or if you're in a low magic world, this can be very nice. But if you're in a high magic world, maybe do some normal magic items so they don't have to track a million things. However, this is the easiest way to homebrew an item, is just take one that you already like and then add some features to it. Because if you're struggling to create a horde for a dragon, you have to create 20 magic items. This is an easier way to do it. Another way is just pick any item. So let's say a lantern. Think to yourself, what does a lantern normally do? It usually gives you about 60 feet of light. And then let's think, what else can a lantern do? Lanterns reveal things in the dark. So let's say reveals invisible units. So if our lantern, that's 60 feet of light, and now our magic attribute is it reveals invisible things. We can also add in a conditional that, you know, must be held by a lawful good character or whatever. These are just ways to spice it up, but just think, if you can't, you know, think of anything, you can usually give it, you know, AC, give it a bonus to their attack roll, give them extra bonus to a certain roll. Any of these types of things can easily turn an item into a homebrew certain item. If you're interested in making more complex magic items like artifacts or legendary ones, leave a comment down below and I'll talk about how we can do that. Or if you want to leave suggestions for things that you want to see statted into magic items, let me know and I'll do that in a video if I get enough comments. But this is the easiest way to take an item and homebrew your own magic item. Take something you already like and say it doesn't fit your character well, you can add on these conditionals to make it fit the lore to your world better. All right, now looking at how to homebrew a monster, the easiest way to start, once again, is with a monster that already exists. Half the work is done for you, so find the closest thing to it and start with that. If it truly is something that is so out there that you can't find an equivalent, then you can start from scratch, and in that case, you just need to fill out some basic details here, your name, size, what type it is. You know, if you know all these things, you go ahead and in here and you just pop it all in. Speed is usually always 30 feet for most any monster. You've got climb and fly speed that you can adjust depending on what you think they can do. I almost always buff the speed of my custom monsters because usually my custom ones are my boss or named monsters. And I usually like to give them 45 feet so they can get a little bit further, especially if they have to dash. That way they always get to their target. I'll be leaving a link for this stat block maker down in the description below. It's my favorite one. I think it's the most user-friendly one. Other ones have some nice formula builders that make it really easy for you if you're newer, but I just prefer this one because it's as easy as type in what you want, and usually I'm making it only for me anyways. So if we wanted to homebrew this goblin, maybe we want a goblin rogue. The easiest way, we come in here, we say goblin rogue. Now that'll change when we hit update stat block, and a goblin rogue is going to be a little bit more dexterous. We're going to give it 16 dex, so now it gets a +3. He's going to have proficiency and dexterity saving throws, and he's going to have stealth already, and we're going to give him proficiency and acrobatics. Probably won't have to use it, but it's nice to know, and he'll be immune to being prone because he knows how to tumble and all that. He's still going to be damaged by every sort of damage that can come at him. Dark Vision's still fine. Challenge rating, I would change him to a half. It's going to be a little bit tougher because he's going to hit a little bit harder. And then we see he has Nimble Escape, Scimitar, and Short Bow. Those all work great. We're just going to go in here and hit the little edit button. And we're going to say +5 to hit. And then we hit add as action and it'll overwrite the other one. We can do the same thing to Short Bow. +5 to hit, add as action, and it takes over. So then we update the stat block and we have our Goblin Rogue. So this is pretty much the same. You might be able to balance this out. So I may want to say, hey, well, I want a custom amount of HP. I want this one to have instead, he's going to have 5 hit points. And I personally don't do the rolling for health. It just takes too long unless I roll before the game begins. And then update stat block. And now we have a 5 hit point Goblin Rogue. He hits a little bit harder, but dies a little bit faster. And a quick tip for you, if you hit Windows key, Shift S, I don't know if it'll show here, it lets you select an area of your screen to copy. You can take that straight back into your Google Doc and paste that right in there, and you have that stat block for you whenever you need it. Super simple, and now you have a custom homebrew monster. So now that we've made a monster and a magic item, we're going to go ahead and make a mechanic. This is, I think, where you really get into the depths of homebrew, is when you're creating your own mechanics because you realize you want to do something that D&D doesn't necessarily account for in a way that you feel is fulfilling. A big for instance of that, and the mechanic we're going to make is one that I've never made before. There's tons of them out there, so you can always Google this mechanic D&D Reddit, and you'll usually find someone who's already done the work, or you can adjust it as you see fit. But the one we're going to go ahead and start with is a drinking contest. It's pretty easy to run a drinking contest in D&D right now. If you just want to sit down, you'll probably all pick the same thing. Everyone roll a Constitution saving throw and keep rolling them until they lose. But if we want to make this a little bit more mechanic, then we're going to go ahead and add a few more things to it. So what we're going to do is I'd like it to change based on whether they're taking shots or they're drinking beer or drinking wine. So I'm going to go ahead and make it a difference if you do either of those. It's going to start at a base roll and slowly increase over time, I think. It's going to get harder and harder. It's not just going to be a roll of the same flat Constitution saving throw over and over again. So we'll go ahead and say a drinking contest starts with a base roll of an 8. So the contest starts with everyone rolling a DC 8 Constitution saving throw. That's there after their first drink. And depending what they drank, the DC will rise. We'll go ahead and say ale is +1. Wine will be +2. And let's make it liquor. Be +3. And then we'll just, for fun, add legendary liquor. So this way, if in your world there's something special, like a really strong drink, you can add this in, or however you want to do it. It just makes this more fun when they pop a bottle and the last DC is against a super strong drink. That's fun. It adds to the enjoyment of the contest. So let's go with, so we'll go ahead and just say that the game ends when only one or less players are still drinking. So if 2 people pass out at the same time, then that's them. But otherwise, the game continues to go. So it can get up to, if they're rolling super high, it can get up to DC 30 if they're just that strong and just keep winning. If they fail twice, not in a row, just twice overall, they then fall asleep. And on a natural 20, you automatically succeed your next roll. This way, if they get a natural 20, it's like they're just hammering down 2 drinks in a row, and then everyone has to catch up to them. So everyone else will roll again. But on a natural 1, you automatically pass out or lose or throw up, however the loss of this game is constituted in your world. And at this point, you would have a successful rules for a drinking game. You could just run a whole session playing this over and over again if you all really enjoyed just role-playing and pretending to drink. It's however you want to do it, but this would be a homebrew mechanic. The basic goal is just decide what you want to do. In this case, it's make a drinking contest more fun. You could decide to make a homebrew mechanic for swimming races. You could make a homebrew mechanic for what it's like to be in space if you want to do that. Before Saltwater Marsh, you could have made homebrew mechanics for how it is to pilot a ship. You can really make whatever you want, but the goal is always try to keep it simple unless you're really going to make this a main point of the game, because these should be fun little rules to run by. Other examples of homebrew things are like exploding dice. Like if you are rolling a dagger and you roll a 4, 1d4 damage, and you roll a 4, you get to roll again and add that to your damage. That's a personal homebrew roll called exploding dice. There's ones for critical tables that if you roll a nat 20 on a monster, you may chop a limb off or whatever, or if they roll a nat 20 on you, they may take an eye or scar you. There's all sorts of different homebrew rules you can make. It's up to you. They can be simple as a drinking contest or as complex as a campaign. Really your choice. But I appreciate you all watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. I love making this D&D content, so if there's anything you want to see made, reviewed, looked at, or talked about by somebody with 6 years of experience, I'd love to do it. It's my favorite thing. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I appreciate you all very much. Thank you.